Hello, welcome back to the SAPI IP Business Talks. Today it's Tuesday and we are in Germany today. My guest, Wasilis Koukounis, is located in Düsseldorf. Today we talk about innovation processes. We talk about the innovation inside of companies and especially this interplay between inventions, patenting, patentability, and innovation. This is a topic which we will talk about at the 3rd and 4th of April in Düsseldorf in the Industry Club. So there is the German Association of Engineers, VDI, and the Association of Patent Professionals, VPP. They together make an event, a big seminar for 2 days to talk about these topics. This event is live. That means you are invited to ask questions to Wasilis or me, however you want, and or in general. And when it fits, I will pick that up and discuss that here live with Wasilis. So, Wasilis, thank you very much for joining us today. You are partner at the patent boutique or IP boutique Michalski Hüttermann. You are a patent attorney and you practice mainly in Düsseldorf. You are representative for IP issues, I think patent issues at the German Association of Engineers. So thank you very much to be here. Tell us a little bit, how did you came into that strange field of intellectual property?
So, Alex, thank you for having me, first of all. Yeah. So, how did I come to the IP business? My path is actually a bit more unusual than usual, I'd say. I did a school internship at a patent law firm in Bochum in the 9th grade. So, I was a pretty small kid. And from then on, it was clear to me that I would become a patent attorney. So indeed, I was always thinking about, well, do I want to study laws or maybe mechanical engineering? And then I just heard about this proficiency, and from then on, it was, let's say, very straight for me that I will become a patent attorney indeed. Yeah. And so this was so I'm born in Bochum in Germany. It's in the Ruhrgebiet. Yeah. And from then on, I just asked when I was still a kid. Yeah, I asked my firm where I also was a trainee later on, what should I study? And they explained me, well, you can study mechanical engineering, or you can study electrical and mechanical engineering, or whatever you want, and then you can come back when you are, let's say, nearly at the end of the studies. And this is what I did. Yeah. And then many years later, I went there. I just rang the bell and told them, well, I'm here. And he told me, who are you? I don't remember you. But then we we came up again. And then, yes, yeah, then I did the training in Bochum. Later on, I moved to Essen and worked there with ThyssenKrupp. Was there for the business unit mining and minerals on the one hand, and also for the after sales market business units. And later on, I joined the firm, Michalski Hüttermann and Partner, where I'm partner meanwhile. Yeah.
Okay. So quite a straightforward story, I would say. It's not that normal. Typically, the pathways into IP are certainly winding. So we want to talk today about these interplay in companies. Okay, so you have a company background. You were at ThyssenKrupp, and also we will have two speakers at the seminar, at the VDI VPP seminar from ThyssenKrupp. So Dr. Stefan Woike will be with us, and Stefan Ising. And Woike is one of our lecturer and examiner, especially examiner at the master program in Strasbourg, which I'm running with the EPO together. And Stefan Ising is an alumni from our master program, so I know them both also very well. And obviously, these interplay of invention, innovation, and the question, what is the role of engineers here in terms of, okay, they are typically the creative part, so they generate the invention. So that's the classical perspective on the whole thing. And but basically, that are two processes. So we have the or two silos even. So we have the patent department, IP department, which gets the whatever invention disclosures, and on the other side we have the innovation process, product development process, and these invention disclosures anyhow this lifeline between the two silos. So that's, I would say, reality in many companies. And I had a wonderful discussion with Beat Weibel from Siemens some years ago, and he said, yeah, what I'm saying that should be more integrated. So he said that is a very innovative approach. So basically, there are two lines, um, uh, and we have to take care that they interact meaningful. So, what is your perspective on the whole process, on this invention, innovation process, and the question, um, what can we do in terms of reducing the assumption of some of the engineers that it has to be rocket science when they come up with an invention disclosure, and that quite often it is much more, let's say, basic stuff, which also can be patented and maybe has even a higher value compared to I don't know, fancy rocket science, which maybe never come true or is in 20 years relevant or something like that. So how can we improve that? What is your approach to that?
So, to be honest, patents can also be granted for rocket science, yeah. But mostly, I'd say, engineers often believe they must achieve a very high level of technical progress to have something patentable. So they think, what I've done is nothing special, just a minor improvement, not a real invention. But I think that's exactly the wrong assumption. And in reality, as you mentioned, the reality, patentable inventions often come from small improvements. It's not always completely new inventions, and this makes also perfect sense. So, if you consider that even a small improvement maybe increase efficiency, then multiple small improvements can add up significantly. And for example, let's say improving something slightly once a month by just 1%, yeah, so 12 times a year, could lead to a total advantage of 12%. And this 12% can set you apart from your competition. So without patents, anyone can copy these improvements. And if you patent these improvements, you alone benefit from disadvantages, for example. Yeah. So, uh, say what sometimes as a practical tip, let's say for inventors, they might ask themselves, what have I done in the past few weeks or months? Why am I standing on my company's payroll? Have the products improved compared to before? And if yes, then it's important to report this to your patent department or to your external patent attorney so that you get a feeling, because indeed not everything is really a patentable invention, but there are many things in the market that could have been patented, but they are not because the inventors did not know about it. And I think this
Yeah.
is also a human thing, because patent law is made by men, and it's no, let's say that there's no real science behind it, so it's not intuitive. Yeah.
I think, yeah, so one major problem obviously is that the source of the inventive thought, the engineer, okay, the creative guy, that they are typically have no training really on patterns or on the question of patentability. And so they have these, these big patents from Mr. Siemens, from Mr. Bosch, from Mr. Diesel, Mr. Otto, and then they have the impression that it has to be this big thing, this big contribution, and to a certain extent today the opposite is right. So as you said, these contributions, smaller contributions to existing solutions, that can be a significant improvement in terms of making the product easier to use, make it easier to maintenance. So it has an certainly higher customer benefit. So in terms of this economic thinking, that is something which is maybe important. So not the pure technicality in terms of is that a huge technical improvement, much more the question, does it has a certain let's say economic contribution. As I said, easier to maintenance, easier to repair, easier to exchange, as you said, higher or lower, higher efficiency, lower costs, whatever. So that is a good guiding star to say, okay, which technical development led to that. And you said that the inventor should report. I think I would like to hear that the inventor should discuss that with the IP system or the representative of the IP system. So it's an exchange. It's a tit for tat, and the creative technical guy comes to the IP expert, and then they discuss what's going on. And so also the let's say patent attorney can contribute to this discussion in terms of not just evaluating whether it is patentable or not, but also coming up with some aspects from state of the art, from patentability, rationals, and that would lead to a real discussion and not just to report and evaluation. You got my point?
I fully agree. I fully agree. And as you said, so there's also, let's say that about what you mentioned, there are two different types, let's say, of patents. Yeah, what you told about the Otto engine and whatsoever. So there may be this basic invention, yeah, for the basic technology. But upon this, let's say it's even nowadays, yeah, let's say with companies that used to file many applications and that had so common practicing inventors, they, let's say, build a new machine, an apparatus whatsoever, and then they file the first patent application. But then over the years, there come the improvements, and it becomes even better and better. Yeah, and this is something. So let's say it's a process for the complete thing. And this is also something what you just said. You have to get into contact with your patent department or with your external patent attorney. They do this every day. So their business is filing applications and drafting the applications, but you have to do the inventions and also the employees. And this is a important point, that they have to get the feeling for it, what is patentable. And maybe also once you are in a routine, you change your spirit, and you get more into the point, what helps the company, and where can I maybe do even some more invention reports, where can I file something or invent something. This is, let's say, something I learned during my time at the business unit mining and minerals with some inventors. They were, let's say, working there for 20 years, and they never filed applications. And after, let's say, going into detail with them, and also I was working, let's say, for the bucket excavators, yeah, and told them, well, What's your best part here? How do you make money for the company? And they said, well, it's only the excavator because their teeth, they're produced just in China. And so this was the point of the dialogue, because they said 50% of the complete money is made with the excavator, and the other 50% could be made with the teeth, but they are produced not cheaper in China, so we just forget this business. Yeah, okay. But then we went into some conversation, and I told them, well, just make the teeth different so that they can be fixed on the wheel in a different way. And then we can patent this teeth, yeah, and it won't be possible anymore to produce them in China. Don't buy standard teeth, just do something different. It does not even have to be something really new advantages, but just something different. So for in this case, we could also save the after sales market for the company. So for its margin was a great point, for example.
Yeah, yeah. So what I really like is that you said patentability is a kind of feeling. So that is really a strong point, and it is. So I would say when it comes to a company environment, this is a kind of spirit. So that we really want that we want to use, and this is your excavator T story. So that first of all, it is a business, and we ask the question, what is the business rationale here, and where lies the money, where lies the profit, and then comes this strategic thought to say, okay, it is not always the big invention per se to improve things dramatically. Sometimes it's just a change to do it, and even when it's not that much better in terms of let's say application, uh, it is patentable, and from the whole business perspective, it is a huge advantage that it is exclusive or exclusified for us. And here we reduce compatibility, for example, or simply exchangeability to third parties. And so yeah, as you said, the after sales market is not gone, and this is a way of strategic thinking. And what I like is that it is a discussion. So we cannot come up from top down and say we need more patents. Yes, but this is not executable, so to speak. Yeah, so we cannot implement this wish for more patents. So people need concrete examples. They need um, experts who are willing, and this is what you said, you go into the field, you go out of your silo, you go into the business unit, talk with the people, and then together you find out what is a strategic opportunity to improve the exclusivity position. So that's the story for me, which lies herein, and that is a great example, especially C-levels sometimes. So they would like to see that the company is innovative, and they typically, so when they are in our CTO forum, so in May we have the next CTO forum, so more than 100 CTOs present themselves there, and all of them say we have so many patents and filings and whatever. So this is the public speaking. But when you talk with them, especially in the current situation where costs are should go down and profits or margins are not that high, so we feel the competition very strong. So then typically C-levels would like to reduce also cost for IP, because quite often it's seen as a tax, an innovation tax. So I would like to be innovative, but these patents cost so much money. Okay, and so what would you say? How could we improve an understanding of the role of IP also at C-level? And in addition, could we improve also the spirit of being innovative in companies? And that means also encouraging engineers to discuss that inventive thoughts with the IP experts. What would you say to that?
So you mentioned several important points earlier. Many executives see patents mostly as costs rather than valuable assets. So, and as we already said, patents aren't something intuitive. So they are valuable tools created by people. And many companies only realize this true value when something painful happens. So, like losing an important contract because a competitor patented a key technology, or facing costly lawsuits due to patent infringement. Many different examples. So I remember my time at ThyssenKrupp, where I worked, as I told you, for mining minerals and after sales market business units. And then there was one factory manager, and he told me that patents were unnecessary burdens and only creating expenses, and especially through compensation for employee inventors. So that's also something he wrongly assumed, that R&D engineers didn't need extra compensation because their salaries already covered inventions. Yeah, and maybe I can also clarify this misunderstanding. According to German law, every inventor, let's say even the R&D engineer, same as a gatekeeper, has the right to inventor compensation. Yeah, this of course is costs, but just if there's some factory manager listening here, you might know that even more critical is the compensation must be paid even if the invention isn't patented. So even potentially for up to 20 years. And if you just don't patent it, the competitors can freely copy it and you lose your competitive advantage. But let's say so you can also, and this is something that might be interesting for executives, use IP as a strategic tool. Let's say, if in case of patent disputes, for example, yeah, patents can serve as bargaining tools, so helping again to continue operations through agreements like cross licensing. Yeah? And even if you are in automotive industry, uh, companies often license entire patent portfolios instead of single patents. It's not just you infringe one patent and you cross license one other patent. No, they could listen. Okay, my patent stack is this high and yours is this, and let's say for this small delta, you get some compensation. But so let's say there are patents that are really used as strategic tools for ensuring your own business. And let's say, even if you are in a situation that you have other companies around you, you can ensure that there won't come up any new competitors, which is also an important tool.
And that makes it, I would say, especially in international competitive situations, even more important. So there are many companies which have to face fierce competition now, for example, in China, and especially mechanical engineering companies. And so some years ago, let's say many years ago, CEOs complained that the Chinese do not follow to the rules of the TRIPS and infringe their patents. And then it turned out that these German companies don't have any Chinese patents. So for a certain time, yeah, that's not that long ago that the impression was so first, we don't need patents at all, as you said, it's just a cost factor. Second, why should we file in China? Yeah, and at the end it turned out that they have no proper IP protection in Germany or Europe, and even not in China. And then they complain that they see a certain kind of infringement or imitation, but basically, you cannot do anything against that when you don't have a proper, in this case, patent portfolio. I think that is something that I had a discussion last week with Robert Plotkin. We talked about AI patents, But his point was, and I think that was really something which touched me. Most people, most C-level decision makers, no, excuse me, it was Bas Albers. And Bas, I had him as, I invited him in January to Strasbourg, and then we had this live meeting. And he said many C-levels have no clue what exactly is protected in their product range for their business. And I would say that is very, very true. So I would say most business decision makers don't understand really which part of their, let's say, product portfolio is really protected and which not. And that turns exactly to your situation with the shovel and the teeth of that excavator, that at the end of the day, I can only have such a discussion about what should be patented, and when I have an understanding, where do we stand right now in our protection. So do you think that should be better communicated, and if so, who is in charge for that? Because at the end, what C-level will always say is, we don't have time for that. Okay, it's bad that it costs so much money, but it's even worse that you want time from me. So Bas Albers, he's working with, let's say, software. He tried to visualize that. Um, what is your experience? How can we communicate these important aspects of a patent portfolio, for example, to C-levels?
I fully get your point, because I already had to face this difficulties. And so there was one solution I found, and for me, and the executives for C-levels, I think it was a good solution. We had one pages. So let's say, first of all, we categorized our patents in two factors: corners and detectability. And then for each of them, I made one pages for every important patent. When I knew they went somewhere, they got some one pages. It was just let's say, the main figure of the invention, and let's say, in easy words, explained the first claim. And this, so when they went somewhere on a fair or wherever to a client, they just had to read a few pages, and not even much. It was just the main information, yeah, because as we all know, patents are horrible to read. But then we try to write it nicely and easy to explain, and then just figurative with pictures. It's not easy for computer implemented inventions, but let's say for this parts, when it was about surface mining, whatever conveyor technologies, it was possible. And this was something you have to understand, and this also something patent attorneys have to understand, that the C-levels have their daily business. They want to run the company, and they have their own problems. And for them, patents are just a pain. And then at least try to make it as easy as possible for them, and understand that because it's patents are important for you, the other person has to respect them, but it's maybe not their focus as much as it is for you. Yeah. And this was something, when I understood this, I think this was a pretty easy way. Just make one pages, the top figure, the claim one as it is granted, and then just a small executive summary. What does this mean? And then this helped them much more than I think trying to explain and then taking them hourly, and say, well, uh, I think this was a pretty good way.
Yeah, keep it simple and stupid, right? I mean, Zella, she's a fellow from the IP Business Academy, and she comes up with a very good point, and maybe that could be something which is that could be maybe two sentences more in this one pager. And she says that So here these make it different. Okay, so that doesn't mean per se make it so much better, but as long as it is different and new and inventive, you can get your patent, and that might have a very significant business impact. And I would say that is especially what also should be on that one page. And so the one thing is from a technical standpoint. So we have a technical standpoint, we have a patent law or a legal standpoint, which is maybe not so relevant for the C-level. So is it a patent which is easy to enforce or something like that? But basically, what is the role in our business model of this patent? And that is something where, so to speak, the patent world has to come with the business world. And this is exactly the discussion you had with that engineer from this business unit, that it is not so much the technical quality, it is not so much the legal quality. In this case, it is first of all the value which lies in this case, for the company and for the business which the company can derive from such an exclusivity. And maybe that could be a route in which the IP guys should go to communicate the value, not in terms of figures. So nobody believes an IP expert when they come up with $1 million figures because this patent is so valuable. That's not the point. The point is, tell me exactly what is the role of this patent in our business model, and don't make it longer than 2 sentences. And I would say then your 2-pager has a real impact to a decision guy. When they go to a trade fair or a negotiation or whatever, they have an understanding why that exclusivity makes a difference.
Fully understand, and fully agree. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, so that means basically we have to bring the business perspective and the technical and the legal perspective together. I mean, that is what we call IP management, basically. That we say it is not just technology, it is not just patent or IP law. For the decision makers to understand why they spend the money to IP, they have to understand the benefits from this IP for their business. And ideally, I would say, ideally, that is the starting point, exactly like in your shovel teeth example. The starting point wasn't an invention. The starting point wasn't a brilliant technological idea. No, the starting point was the question: who is making money here and why? And how can we use IP in a strategic way that we derive or we bypass the money in our direction and not in the direction of the competitors? That is a very smart move, and the starting point of this discussion was a business intent, and that could be a leading star, guiding star of a direction to discuss IP before somebody might think something is invented. You can talk very good about IP as when the starting point is a business, but that has to be done upstream in the innovation process, obviously. So when we see in the international scene, so we see pretty much investments in patents, in IP around the globe. So these figures only rising. And I mean, that's the knowledge economy to a certain extent. But what would you say, how can patents be used to strengthen companies' competitiveness? And how can we use also market understanding, market information, when we create such patents in an increasingly competitive environment?
So what I would recommend is something I call nexus patents. Yeah, the word nexus is a central connection essential point in a network structure. Yeah? And if you can structure your technology so that all important technical features have to pass through this one central point, which is the nexus, then it's ideal to protect exactly this critical point with a patent. And this is what matters. I think also you can give it different names like bottleneck patent or whatever, because this is something very
Keyhole.
important. Let's say, yeah. um, and this is, let's say, let's come back to the teeth. So I also just saw there was a comment about this for make it different. Yeah, the point was I told the inventor, well, listen, the teeth, it might even have the same hardness and stiffness and whatever. Okay, maybe, but how do you fix it on this bucket wheel? And this was the point. We can give it some advantages. Let's say it can be changed faster, whatever, and then the machine does not stand still for, let's say, it's faster, whatever, yeah, to change. But this was the point. This point was how to fix the teeth on it, and this is something. Once you had this fixation patented, no competitor could go around it. So there was another thing I remember when also there was ThyssenKrupp. They were the only company that had patented a specific final step in a manufacturing process, and this special feature made the system significantly more environmentally friendly than any other available solution. And this was exactly, it was this invention that helped to win the pitch. Yeah? And so this is something what I explained or try to explain with this terminology, nexus patent. But I would also advise not to rely solely on this nexus patents, but experience shows that it's generally wise to create something like a patent thicket. So that means protecting pathways around your best invention. Yeah, it's let's say the second best invention and the third one, because if we can't uh, let's say directly compete with low production costs from countries like China and India, we must ensure to become technological leaders again. Yeah? And this means then preventing others from producing inventions developed by European inventors to at least stopping these products from being imported into Europe. Yeah, and then this by the best way, but also the second and third best way.
Got you,
Yeah.
got you. So that reminds me these keyhole nexus discussion. That reminds me to a interesting tool which we use in our SAP EPO education. That is the sales methodology here. This comes from Chambers and Wojcik, and they say you should focus on these five aspects of a technology. So that are standards, architectures, integration and disintegration of elements, linkages, and substitutions. And this is something which we use in the training program. And these linkages, for example, this is exactly what you call the nexus in your shuffle example for the excavator, because at the end it's the interface. Yeah, so it's like Nespresso, the capsule and the machine. It's like and typically we have then these razor blade economy or business model, which we see also for the inkjet printers. So there's the question, we have a certain complementary assets like the ink or the razor blade, and or the teeth of the shovel, and that has to that has to fulfill certain patented requirements, otherwise you cannot integrate it. So you can say when these complementary asset does not have a license, it is definitely an infringement. When it is, because it has to fit, it remains in the design logic of must fit and must match. Okay, yeah. So that there are some concepts behind that. That in which directions we should search or we should investigate when we try to create patents which have a very high business value, so to speak, a strong contribution to what they're doing. Coming back to this competition environment, so is that your so you work a lot with the industry, and do you have the feeling that litigation or enforcement of patents becomes more intensive in that times, or is it also so that companies don't want to spend money for that kind of activities? So what would you say? What try companies to do to make their competitive advantages sustainable?
Well, let's say something I see is that there come more and more things from Asia, especially from China. Yeah. So I will in 2 days I will go to the UPC here in Düsseldorf, the local division, and there we have two Chinese companies, yeah, against each other. It's not anymore the German against the Chinese, but it's the one Chinese against the other Chinese here in Düsseldorf. Yeah, for let's say and for let's say the European branches. But yeah, it's two Chinese companies, and that's something
Yeah, we have a
I'm
lot.
focusing because I think we should be aware of this, and even we as a firm, we opened a Chinese desk April 24 because this is something we're facing. There's much more patent activity coming more and more from China, and of course we have to handle this. But there are, let's say, even just for you to know that this patent activity, how it increased. So I made some research a few days ago, and I saw that, yeah, many might know it. Recently, China surpassed Europe in patent applications, and I had a look per 1,000 inhabitants. China in 2022 they filed 1.15 applications per thousand inhabitants, and Europe, or let's say the European Union member states, filed zero point 0.8 applications per inhabitant. So this shows you already that China is much more active, and the key for this was a strong government support, large investments, as many heard of us, the high technologies companies, and a plan named Made in China 2025. And I can only strongly encourage everyone to look up. You can find it in Google, but I also found it in Wikipedia, the keyword Made in China 2025. So it was really interesting, and just to understand this strategic approach that they focused on. But this is something we are facing. Yeah, we have many proceedings here, but let's say when looking at this, we might be prepared. And I also, let's say, am a contact with, for example, Stefan Altmaier, who was head of IP for 15 years at Telekom, the German Deutsche Telekom AG. Yeah,
Yes, of
and
course.
he explained me. He told me, Vasily, well, so I have a pretty good overview about, let's say, this infrastructure patents. Yeah, and the Chinese, they are filing and filing and filing, and we will have a big problem here if we don't start become innovative and more innovative again. Yeah, because we have to face this. And as I told you before, the automotive industry has this patent stacks, and they compared. But we also need a negotiation mass to compare with. Yeah, if they come with
We
many
have
applications, and
something
this
to
something.
counterbalance.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly. And
Yeah.
this something I
Thank you
think
very
we
much.
are at the very moment missing. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. We have to counterbalance these activities. And I was in November last year with the Chinese agency. We had a training for them in China, and I said it is ridiculous. Yeah. Um, Giving Chinese companies European best practice. So when I make trainings in Europe or in US or in Latin America, I always use Chinese companies like Huawei, for example, to present the best, or Tencent or others, to present the best strategies which we see on the planet right now. So it's not just the number; it's also the strategy which is behind that. Yeah, thank you very much. We're running out of time. I just want to use the last minutes to tell everybody who is interested in. We make that in Germany, in German, VDI VPP seminar in Düsseldorf. And you see here we have lots of very interesting presentations from the industry about the question how to work with IP, especially patents, in the innovation processes. Thank you very much, Vasily. We both worked heavily on the program, and I'm happy to hear that we have already a significant number of participants there. Thank you very much for staying with us today, and to the audience, thank you. We will be available on LinkedIn for the next hour. Wasilis is also part of the after show party, so we answer your questions on LinkedIn, which you might have. And for all the others, enjoy your Tuesday, and thank you very much. Bye bye.
Thank you for having me. Bye bye to everyone.